First is I think that they appreciate our friendship. It's kind of like odd and quirky. And I think a lot of, it maps to like relationships that they have amongst their own friends. So that's what makes it relatable. But the second is that all of us uniquely have a point of view about stuff that matters more and more in the world. I think that's just the basics of it. Like, it's not like technology is going away, and it's not like its impact in the world is going away. And the more it becomes mainstream, the more it's important for a lot of folks to understand what's happening. And I think we provide a pretty unfiltered view of it. And we do it where, and this is a lot of credit to Sachs more than anyone else on this show, has to take a counterpoint and steel man what would otherwise be controversial views. And if he didn't have his three friends around him, that would make the pod meaningfully worse, I think.
Can you explain for people who don't know what steel manning is, what that means?
Well, it just means like to have intellectual honesty around a point of view and actually put your best foot forward in trying to explain it, even when it's not orthodox, even when it's not what the mainstream would say is right. And so what it actually does is it creates a contrast against every other alternative that you have to learn about things, which you find incrementally is biased. And I think that's what we've gotten right. We are four friends that have a reasonable point of view rooted in some amount of success. And I think that that's important because it gives us credibility. And we take all sides of issues.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it is not the obvious, simple, reductive answer. And I think that that's where it really shines.
Just so people know about the steel man argument, I just want to make sure people are clear on it. I think most people refer to it as the act of presenting the other argument in the strongest way possible to be intellectually honest. Like the opposite of a straw man.
Exactly. Opposite of straw man. Because the way the debate happens on Twitter and so forth is it's almost like the intellectual debate is being attacked using opposition research tactics, like it were a political campaign. So in other words, they go back through anything you might have said or written, take the thing that was most wrong or least justifiable, or the thing they can even just take out of context, and then they'll try to make it about that as opposed to the argument you're actually making. And we just see this tactic over and over again, and it's not an intellectually rigorous way of having a debate about something.
You don't learn anything.
Right.
And deep down inside, you know that it's contrived. And that is in a nutshell. So it almost in many ways has less to do with how good we are, but frankly, how bad all the alternatives are. So even if you wanted to learn about tech and you go up and you sign up for these newsletters, or if you look at some of these tech sites, they're really terrible. And they have done an increasingly terrible job over the last 5 years in telling the most important things, the truth, and everything in between. And so if you can find a source for an hour a week that is trying to tell you how basically the world is going to come together in a really integrated, multifaceted way, it's not like we're right. And it's not like we know better than other people. In fact, many times, a lot of the criticism I get is, how dare you talk about X or how dare you talk about Y? Because it makes people who are experts in that field, feel like, how dare you come into my realm and even have an opinion on, what Russian politics was like in the 1980s. And those things really annoy these folks because they feel that those opinions and that knowledge should be cordoned off and held tightly as this secret that only they are allowed to talk about into the world. And this is the point where with the internet, all this knowledge is accessible. So the value of that knowledge, in my opinion, is the least it's ever been. It's the interpretation that's valuable. And it's the ability to actually think narratively around how all these things connect. And this is where I give a lot of credit. I think you guys do an incredible job. I think the way Friedberg thinks is super unique. I think the way that Sachs thinks is unique. I think, J-Cal, your courage to basically fight back is very special. All of it together is a really unique recipe. It works. And what I will tell you consistently is the number of people that listen to this of import and influence. I am constantly shocked. And if you are not sure of it, you need to get out of this stupid little echo chamber of Silicon Valley, go to New York, go around the world. And if you're in the right meetings, it's incredible how folks are getting educated using this pod. And I think that's really amazing.